because we don't want to be here all night. My name is Susan Paula. I'm one of the trustees for sections 3 and 4. I lost Doug. Doug is over here getting chairs. Doug Spitz is the other trustee. And we have representation from sections 1 and 2 from their homeowners association. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know it's hot outside, you have other things to do, but this is a really important meeting, so I'm glad that you could come. First, I'd like to thank Pastor Bob and the church, St. Paul's Church, UCC, for hosting us tonight. Thank you, Pastor Bob. Bob is also one of our homeowners in Section 3. We also have representation here from the city tonight. We have Jim Ogney, Jeff Coop, and Jim Herzog. There are 3 of our aldermen. We also have Wes Hopkin, and am I missing anybody from the city? Will Trowbridge.
I'm not with the city.
You're not with the city? You're not on any committee?
Zoning board.
Zoning. Well, still with the city. Don't bust my chops.
That counts.
Am I missing anybody from the city? No? No? Okay. Well, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Joe Hardman. He's with Barbara Murphy. He also lives in our subdivision, and he's the realtor that is representing both the bank and the property.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm sure that we'd all rather be lying under some ice or something. I know that there's been a lot of information out there, and some of it good, some of it a little mangled in the press. So hopefully tonight we can, I'd like to give you a brief overview of what the proposal is, and then we'll introduce Mr. Levinson, let him say some remarks as well, and then we'll open up to questions. The property is, as you know, there's 3 pieces of ground here, or really 2 that we're talking about. The 3. There's the north end, which is the biggest piece, where the new road was built. It goes out to Route 3, and we refer to that as the north site in our plan. The south site is the piece of ground that lies between the existing Columbia Lakes apartments and that clubhouse up to where the homes start on that side of the road. And it actually runs all the way down to Route 3. There's about 7 acres of ground there altogether. Both of those parcels have been zoned multifamily for years. When Columbia Lakes was first platted, the zoning there on those 2 parcels was R7, meaning multifamily type buildings. So it's always been planned, in the city zoning anyway, for some sort of multifamily building out there. The other piece that's an interesting piece is the ground that's up near the water tower, and Mr. Levinson will also control that. And as you know, today it's a pretty rugged looking mountain there, but we are going to be marketing this to the hotel industry to hopefully, and we've engineered a site at least to the degree where we can see feasibility wise that it will work. We may be able to get a hotel there, and the entrance to it would be down where the old Deals Market was. So it wouldn't be coming into the subdivision directly, but I think it would be a real big asset for the city. It would create some sales tax and some room tax revenues and give us another hotel, and it would be out closer to the interstate, which would hopefully generate a lot of money. And something like this doesn't really generate a lot of traffic per se around us, so I just think it would be a real nice plus for the city. And Mr. Levinson will be, he's actually having to buy this piece of ground to get the rest of the piece of ground, so it's good that we have a plan for it. And it may not happen immediately, but that's kind of the short term, or the current planning view of this is that it would be a good site for something like that. And then this is the piece that's next to the existing apartments, just to kind of give you relationships there. The first thing that I said when I was asked about anybody coming in actually to develop the ground here, and the first thing I've told potential buyers is that you can't just put up anything on this R7 ground. It's going to have to be a development that has quality in it. The city has a very strict building code with multifamily. They have to be brick or masonry type structures. And the ground cost is such that it really drives it to a nicer level of development. So I can assure you, first thing, that these are not going to be 8-family boxes with cedar decks out front and people barbecuing on their hibachis. You know, that's not what we're trying to build here. What we're trying to build is a community of townhomes, a mix of townhomes and apartment buildings. And It's still an evolving concept in terms of ownership, but we think in the beginning, some of these can even be for sale, right from the beginning as condominium units. So you'll have ownership, equity positions in the buildings right away. There'll also be amenities built, a new swimming pool, tennis court, basketball court, I believe, did I say swimming pool, and some play areas around on the north end, and there'll be a lake. And the initial plan is to make those facilities available to the existing homeowners, possibly for a small fee, but we'd like to incorporate that into the rest of the community. The south end will also have a pool and pool house, and once again, I think we'll have that available too for the rest of the community. So there'll be 2 new swimming pools, a couple of clubhouses, clubhouse, pool house, tennis courts, volleyball court, that type of thing. So lots of nice amenities to go along with it. I know this is too far away, but most of you have plans, I believe, little printed plans. The existing homes along Micah's Way run along the bottom. And so the project shows being built out along the road. One of the things we've heard, and we were very aware of from the beginning, this will all be screened. They'll be planted probably heavily with evergreens that will buffer the multifamily portion from the existing residential. And that'll be true on both developments. There'll be screened plantings done to define the 2 areas. The buildings, and this is, I know there's been a lot of questions. This is a development that Mr. Levinson did over on Porter Road in South County. Those of you familiar with where Sam's is over there. These are some buildings that were put up about 35, 40 years ago. And they're similar to the style that we're contemplating for this development. They may not exactly be this way, but if you can pass those around so people have an idea. I'm sorry I didn't bring more copies. And I drove through there the other day, took those pictures just recently. Those are buildings that have been there, some of them 40 years, David. So that's the kind of quality we're looking for in this development. And those are condominiums. They were built as condominiums. And we've had this plan kind of going back and forth. Like I said, initially it was all rental. We're leaning more now towards at least a combination of rental and condominium from the beginning. So that's kind of a 40,000 foot view of what we're proposing. The townhomes, these are 2-level buildings. So you have, when I say townhouse, that's an up and down, 2 levels. We'll run more or less around the perimeter of the lake and then inside the perimeter. And the 8 families more or less on this end. And then all the amenities up here with this green space around them. And there'll be probably some gazebos and stuff as well around the pool, or around the lake. And the lake will be a lake. It won't be a drainage basin that's empty half the time. It will be a lake. Okay, at this point, I'm going to introduce David and say a few things, and then we'll open it up for questions. David's been in the development business for over 50 years, and he's currently working on a project called the Anderson Creek Club in North Carolina, and I would encourage you to go to that website at andersoncreekclub.com. It's a 4,000 unit mixed-use development. And it has golf courses and all kinds of stuff. It's much bigger than what we're talking about here, but I think you'll get an appreciation for this type of communities he's built and is currently building. He was actually involved as one of the initial developers of Columbia Lakes back in 1976. So the initial platting and all of the initial land design out there goes back to him and his partners that long ago. He's been in and out of the Columbia Lakes project a couple of times. And even back this time to, as he says, put a finish to it. He'd like to finish it. It's kind of a pride issue at this point. David's an interesting individual. I meet a lot of people in the real estate business, and I mean a lot of people. Politicians and businessmen and just all kinds of interesting folks. This man has served under 3 presidents, Carter, Reagan, and Bush, the senior. He was the insurance commissioner for the state of Delaware. And in that capacity, as an insurance expert, he helped write insurance laws for all of the emerging republics out of when the Soviet Union collapsed. He was very involved with that. He's Harvard educated. He's has a tremendous resume that I certainly couldn't get on this card, but I wanted you to know he's somebody of substance, and he cares very much about this project and how it is perceived and how it's built. And so we wanted to assure you from the beginning that we're not talking about building junk, we're not talking about building Section 8, we're not talking about building something that we wouldn't be proud to live by, and I live up there. With that, I'm going to let David have the floor, and then we'll take your questions.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you all so much for coming out this evening and for inviting me to meet with you. I really appreciate it. In 1976, I had a vision for Columbia Lakes, but without you folks, that vision could never have come to a reality, because all a developer can do and a planner can do is put down on paper what he would like to see, but only if people buy into his plan, buy homes, decide to move into his community, can that vision become a reality. So I thank you all so much for contributing to my vision. I received a telephone call a few weeks ago from the First National Bank of St. Louis, and they said, David, we know you're developing a $1 billion community. There'll be 10,000 residents there, about the size of Columbia, as I understand it, finish. And I'm approaching 2,000 residents now. And we really would appreciate if you'd come out and see if you can help us out finishing this community. I pointed out to them that I was already working 6.5 days a week till 11 o'clock at night and really didn't have much time, but I'd come out and see if I could help them. I did that and looked at my original vision. It goes back a long, long time. As you can see, I pointed out that one of the members of the current Council of Columbia was about 6 years old when I started this project. And I saw that I believed that this could be completed. So we have proposed to the City of Columbia that vision, and given that approval, it's my intention to move forward to the degree that I can. But I don't want to mislead anyone. Excuse me, I thought I had turned that off. It doesn't turn off easily. Joe, will you try to turn this off for me? Just keep pushing that button to turn this off. I don't know why they don't give me my voicemails for about 2 days after I get them. That's AT&T. I can't turn the thing off. At any rate, I listened carefully to what Joe said, and I never want to mislead anyone. And everything Joe said was correct except one little piece that I want to correct it right now. And that is, while it's my intent that this significant area of ground be a amenities package that will also be available for a fee to those who live in Columbia Lakes. The little amenity piece in the small southern parcel will not be. It's too small, and it's just designed to serve the very few units that are there. Okay, Joe, but other than that, everything you said was accurate. But today, unlike years past, there's an extra player in the mix when one wants to do a real estate development, and that's the finance industry. The current banking environment, finance environment, is extremely difficult. I was going to say many, but probably most builders cannot get financing to move forward with their businesses. Developers are going broke all over America. Builders are going out of business. So the timing of what we do will largely be dependent upon the availability of financing. Today, it's very, very difficult. I have no problem in North Carolina because I'm located next to Fort Bragg with 65,000 military personnel, and those folks don't lose their job in a recession, they don't take a pay cut in a recession. But that's not the case with Columbia Lakes. And the St. Louis market in general is not very good. I guess you all know that. And as a result, financing is very, very difficult. I'm currently working with several sources, but I certainly cannot promise any timing on this project. My hope would be to get started very quickly, obviously, but there is that limitation that did not exist, or did not exist nearly to that level in the past. In terms of the quality of the product, it will at least be the equivalent of the single-family homes in Columbia Lakes, and in some degrees, perhaps equal to the best of the single-family homes in Columbia Lakes. As you know, the current code requires no siding or minimal siding, no aluminum, not even any hardy plank. It's got to be brick. I think mansard roofs are allowed, but they require some pretty fancy window treatments. I would anticipate that this product would be, by any objective evaluation, the equivalent at least to the single-family housing in Columbia Lakes. And if you would like to see it, you can get there in 10 minutes. Just drive across the bridge. It's on Forder Road, just south of the, exactly, they've changed the roads a little bit there about how you get there, but it's right off the freeway there. And it's the very first project that I built when I went out on my own in St. Louis in 1966. And I think it still looks very, very good. And you have some pictures of it that are being passed around this evening. What I found whenever I start a project anywhere, there are all sorts of rumors that float all over. And you know, the First Amendment allows you to say whatever you want, but that doesn't make it the truth. I'm telling you here now what my plans are. I'm asking you to look at what I did back in the mid-60s, right across the river, and to go to www.Anderson Creek Club, ANDERSON, creekclub.com. And you can see what I'm doing now. Now I have 14 builders who are working for me at Anderson Creek Club. Recently, D.R. Horton, the last 9 years, the largest builder in the United States, came into my community. So we have custom builders who build 3 and 4 homes a year in the $400,000 to $600,000 price range. We have builders like D.R. Horton who will be building in the $250,000 to $400,000 price range. We have no single-family homes under $250,000. And North Carolina, a $250,000 house there would probably be a $350,000 house here in terms of construction costs. So all I can say in terms of product and what I plan and what I would hold my builders to is what you can see at AndersonCreekClub.com and what you can see by going right across the river and looking at Chateau de Ville condominium and how that looks. For, how long is that, from 1966 till now? 45 years or something like that. I was a young man, I'm getting old. And you see what it looks like 45 years later. Because it's not only important what something looks like when it's built, it's important what it looks like 45 years later. So if you have any questions. Yeah.
One other aspect of this that I think we need to point out, and I should have mentioned it earlier, this is a community unit plan type of project, meaning that it has to be built out the way it's planned. If you can't start it and then decide, I don't want to do that, you have to go back to the city and reapply for something else. What do you think the odds are, if they approve this, of that happening? The other thing is, the density on this, in terms of number of units, and the number of people that can live here under the community unit plan approach, is about 210, 220 units. Under R7, it was just built out as R7, put about 500 units on there. So from a density standpoint, you'd have a lot more souls out there. And if this project doesn't go, and the ground stays vacant another 3 or 4 years, and the bank keeps getting beat up because we can't sell it, and the value of the land keeps going down, then you could get a traditional R7 type apartment building type buildings out there. I'm not sure if the city would ever agree to it, but I have a feeling that we maybe haven't done a good job in the press of explaining this concept gives you that green space, and it puts the units together, but it also opens up the rest of the ground. And it's not trying to maximize how many bodies we can put on that 20 acres. It's really to make a project that obviously you need to make money, and there's got to be a profit to it. But it is not overbuilt and overpopulated with people, at least from the way I understand zoning. So I want to make that point too. All right. Yes, ma'am. You want me to come over here and so everybody can hear? Yeah, you can answer the questions, or I'll answer them.
Well, actually, what I would like, since we have our alderman here, is I would like to know if it should happen that you have to go back and change your plans to something different, how would they react? What would their position be?
What do you guys want to tackle that?
Yes, that would really depend on what the reasoning is for the changes and what those proposed changes would be.
Yeah.
I can definitely guarantee you, being a resident up there and facing these properties, facing the south property with my home, and having close friends that live on the back line of the back property, that any change would have to be an upgrade over the current existing one. I can guarantee you that I would not support any type of downgrading plan whatsoever.
Yeah, I think we're locking in the quality level here, because I can't imagine anybody letting it go in the other direction. But could happen, I suppose. Yeah. Who's next?
How many of them are going to be for sale versus rental? I think that's, for townhomes, if they're all for rent, it's a lot of rental property.
The answer to your question is that is driven both by the market and by the financing available. My objective, certainly on the major piece, the north piece with 210 units, is that would ultimately be all for sale. But if they're built as condominiums, some of them can be rented until they're sold. So it's kind of hard to explain. Let me see if I can explain it. Let's assume you had a linear project. You'd start one end, it's all for sale housing, it's all condominium. But you start at one end selling and you start at the other end renting. And when you meet in the middle, then you start emptying out the rental buildings and selling those until everything is sold.
So you basically rent first. So you basically rent before you sell them. You rent until you sell.
On some of them, but they're always for sale.
But
In other words, you sell as many as you can sell within a given time period, but you try to maybe build more than that if you can get the financing to do it. You would build more than that, rent them temporarily, and then sell them.
Yeah, on the south end, I guess that answered the question. Are those apartments or are those condominiums?
The south end, I would anticipate the financing probably would be more available for rental. That would be my end, because it's right next to 138 rental apartments.
And would you be putting up a fence, a big fence to border, the homes there?
Right here is.
Absolutely.
Right here is where we border.
This will be completely screened. And let me tell you why you can be sure it will be completely screened. Because for the same reason that folks don't want to look out of their backyard and look at apartment buildings, people live in these buildings don't want to look at their backyard. So it will be completely screened with evergreens.
But what about a fence?
To keep people
Yeah, we don't want people cutting through there.
Aren't 2 of the 3 yards there already fenced?
There's no fence in the back.
On any of them? I thought it was just yours that was.
I don't see a problem with putting a fence there. I don't see any problem with that at all. Normally, I like to stand and look on a site before making that decision, but I see no possible reason not to do it.
I think it'd be the right thing to do.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And I have somewhat the same question. And this question, I represent the Columbia Sportsman's Club, which we're the largest neighbor on the North project. And the board, and I know the question may be premature, but the board asked me to ask the same question. With that many apartments and that many people, we are a members-only club, and we already have a large issue with trespassing already, and we want a fence. We don't want evergreens. We're going to lose a ton of our trees already due to your development, we think, because your buildings show already in the existing tree line. So I was asked to ask if there would be a fence separating this development from our private club.
We will screen or fence whatever is appropriate. Now, keep in mind, in the same way that you're concerned about trespassing with the Sportsman Club, we're going to be concerned about trespassing from the Sportsman's Club on our amenity.
And I understand
So-
with the Sportsman's Club, our existing, let's call it our amenity, our lake, does not actually connect in any way to where because you're down on the lower part of the creek area with your amenities, whereas our clubhouse is sort of up at the corner.
Kind of here, right?
Yeah. So, I see it both ways, but we're more concerned because we don't have a large density of people that use it at one time. People just come out there to fish and enjoy the quiet. And the concern of the board was a lot of people just going, hey, we can walk right down and fish. That's our concern.
No. I have the exact same problem with Anderson Creek Club. It's a gated community, but it's not a fenced community. You can't fence 3 square miles.
I understand.
And I have security out there 24 hours a day, and I have people trying to get in because we have bass. 10 years ago, I think they call it seeding, and we seeded them with bass. And those bass are 8-10 pounds down. People are coming in and trying to fish. And I understand perfectly. I have the exact same problem. And you can be assured that as a developer, you'll have complete cooperation from me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What's the phasing of this, and what happens when the market does dry up and you can't finish it?
The reality is, I can't tell you. That's the first thing I said this evening. I can't tell you how long it will take. It's probably going to take me 20 years at Anderson Creek Club. I've been there 10 now, and it'll take me at least 10 more. I would anticipate this project taking 7 to 10 years, but maybe it'll be fast, maybe it'll be slower. But I can't control the market, I can't control the financing, no developer can. The speed with which these things happen are a function of the market and the availability of financing.
Buildings, or you can do that?
No,
How many buildings are you gonna start with? What makes it viable?
I've been in the business 51 years. I've developed scores of communities. I've never failed to finish a community. That's one of the reasons that, despite the fact I don't have to make any more money in my life, sir, I came out because I want to see this finished, and I'm helping the bank do that.
Since 1960, though, the market has increased. Since 2005, the market has decreased.
It has. And I would anticipate, however, out there, the bank has assured me, and I've reconfirmed that with the builder, that they're still able to do about 15 new homes a year. in Columbia Lakes. I would hope here we could do 20. But they're 210 and 20 a year, you know, it's 10 years. And the market's not going to get any worse than this. I pray. I mean, I can't imagine it getting much worse than this.
To put a point in that too, one building here, with the style we're talking about, a townhouse, probably have well over $1 million in one building. It's not like somebody's running in and, you know, putting a couple $100,000 in the ground and then running out. These will be substantial investments on each of these properties.
Look at real, or
Yeah.
how much is it gonna knock the price off my property? I'm on right the back side of it.
I don't know if it's gonna knock the price of your property. How much is it sitting next to a vacant field with a road running through it, with nobody knowing what's gonna ever happen?
$225,000.
Pardon?
It's worth $225,000. How much is it gonna be worth when you go put a park building in? That's tax revenue that the county.
We anticipate that the price of our products will go up to at least $225,000, maybe more.
What's it gonna do to my property?
Well, if my property's next to yours and yours is worth $225 and mine's worth $250, maybe you're pulling mine down a little bit.
What about the tax rate on the school system for rental units? How do you propose to address that?
I'll talk to you about that a little bit, because it came up in the planning commission meeting. And Wes, if you want to say something, if I say it wrong. But we looked at this, and when you do multifamily development, you kind of estimate how many people are going to be living out there based on how many bedrooms. These are going to average like 2.1 person per unit. And it's not anticipated, especially since they're going to be built over a period of time, that you're going to add a tremendous number of kiddos into the school district. But keep in mind this too, do the arithmetic, somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 a unit, depending on how they're built out, times roughly 300 units. How much money is that in the property tax rule that we don't have today? And we're not adding a bunch of kids, because these are not built for, it's not a kid-friendly community.
You won't see that tax base from the rentals.
Yes, you will. Everybody that owns a building sort of pays property taxes on it. And you pay it in the rents, or you pay it as a condo owner. That's a big fallacy in homeowner thinking, that nobody pays property taxes on apartment buildings. Believe me, they do.
Well, we're talking density of people though,
Yeah,
is going up for fixed tax base.
sure.
Let me try to answer this globally for you. Quality multifamily housing produces a fewer number of school-age children per real estate tax dollar collected by far than single-family houses. Quality multifamily housing subsidizes single-family housing. It doesn't add to the burden. It's a good question, but that's the answer.
She's got her hand up.
I'm sorry.
You're lady over there.
Since you're talking about taxes, will there be tax incentives or tax breaks?
Good question. None.
No, this is strictly market-driven. There's no government
No tip,
involvement at all.
no special favors, no reaching into the taxpayer's back pocket for any special subsidies. This is not anything like that. This is strictly profit-driven, if you will, business decisions to do development.
And will there be one-bedroom units, or is it going to be all family?
One-bedroom units.
I do not anticipate any one-bedroom units. I anticipate primarily two-bedroom units with some three-bedroom units. But it's market-driven.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question that concerns me. I think I talked to you before about it. It's on these rental units. I want to tell you, I come from Cahokia. I had a house there, I got a picture of it here. I had that house in Columbia today, I could get $135,000 for it. Now, I'll tell you what I got for it when I had it sell. $45,000. It was in number one shape. My wife and I, we lived there 42 years. It was due to rental property. They put up about 20 apartment units down there on the highway, Highway 3 at 157 by Parks College. They rented them out. the government come in there and says you're gonna rent some to HUD. I don't know if you people know what the hell HUD is.
Yeah.
That's a ruination of the country. They bring people in there, they pay $50 a month, the government pays $600 a month to keep them in there to the owner of that property. But the elements you got in there, they don't improve it, they don't pay taxes, they just sit there. And as a result, go walk down there and walk around Cahokia if you dare. I don't think none of you will do it either. Now, that's something to think about, in my estimation. I brought up here, when we bought our house, I put $80,000 down on it. I only had a $40,000 debt, which is practically nothing. My house payment is $305 a month. I don't give a damn who knows about it, but that's what we're paying now, my wife and I. We're married 65 years. I can't afford to move out again, and I got to have some assurance that this won't happen to me again. I'm worried about myself and my wife. We don't want this. If these rental property, I am against that. I want to see people buy homes in there. And I don't want the government coming in there and telling me that they're going to put it under HUD and move a bunch of undesirables in that won't keep the property up, and it goes down fast, believe me. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah,